Good morning, family. Welcome to another TDRS. This is your girl, your cousin Tanisha Peoples, live with my homeboys, my partners in Getting in Good Trouble, Mr. Nehemiah Frank and Mr. Jason B. Allen. And also this morning, we have joining us my sister from Chicago, bomb ass activist parent, Miss Natasha Dunn. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Good. It's
Hanging
a
in
good
there.
Monday.
Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna say like I'm like 100 because the trial is going on right now, and I'm nervous about what's gonna happen. So, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone.
Yeah.
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 It's very surreal.
Everybody's on. I know I'm on edge because honestly, I'm feeling like when they have this conversation about reasonable doubt and they keep emphasizing that to the jury, it's honestly feeling like a Jason Van Dyke situation in which he's not gonna get the murder charge, but he might get what is it, manslaughter is the second one that they got on the table. I feel like he might get that, but with the way things are going in America now, who the hell knows? So
You don't know. It's like, to me, it feels like you feeding the jury what you want the outcome to be, which is going to be negative and detrimental to our community. We don't know. At the end of the day, just be prepared for whatever.
Yeah. We definitely keeping our Minneapolis family in prayers and in peace. Shout out to Cooley, Adriana, and Nakima Lee Armstrong, who's up there on the ground doing the work and honestly going through all this stuff, in addition to going through the Dante Wright protest and advocacy. And it's just a lot. It's just too much. And it's like literally, y'all, every day is a fucking assault on our people. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And it's like the the capacity to hold it all in is just like, woo, the bow go break. So I don't know. What else is going on, y'all? What else happened over the weekend? I know in Chicago we had some juicy tea. I don't want to be a person in the rumor mill, but let's just they was talking about our girl Lori out here. She got a side piece, y'all, and some stuff went down to her house, and we talking about she needs to resign. And I'm like, y'all trying to make this black woman resign over some shit that white men do and get away with all the time because she may have possibly cheated on her wife. Like, come on, y'all. Here we go with the attack on black women leadership, but that's the tea that was brewing in Chicago this weekend, which really overshadowed some, other stuff that we got going on. We had another baby killed yesterday, 7 years old, shot 6 times in the McDonald's drive-through, and she didn't survive. And so people not talking about that, but they talking about what Lori doing in her house in her bedroom. So
crazy.
Yeah, it is. I saw someone post about that, and I think about the trauma that brings to our communities, but how detached are we from that? Like, why are we not in the uproar that black children are being shot in malls, at schools, in church parking lots, at McDonald's? They can't go to the library, they can't go to the playground. Right. So, I get white supremacy, that we know that it's present, but I always stay on black people because the reality is we do need to do better as a people. And that's a fact. That's my perspective. I know black people want to say, oh well, we get beat down on every end, and we get this and we get that. But at the end of the day, these guns are in the hands of us. And who is killing our children? Because we know how the system works. Yeah, there are all types of alternatives that are out there. However, in my stress, I'm not gonna go in my community and start shooting so that somebody's grandmother and mother and child and husband and brother is getting shot. And so we do have to take accountability for that. And black people need to get their shit together too, because I'm damn near sick of us. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's 2021, and I don't care if you can't say A, B, or C. Everyone knows the state and reality that we live in. So we got to go and talk to our cousins and them, our third cousins, our distant cousins, and be like, hey, y'all need to reel this shit in.
You need to reel it in. And then it's an accountability thing. It's like you said, reeling them in. But then also, to me, when we neglect to address those issues, what we're doing is we're feeding white supremacy and the oppression and stuff that comes along with it. I mean, the people that's creating the terror in our community, they just as bad as the white man with the mask on his, with the KKK person or the police officer that randomly shoot, innocent people. I mean, you are on the same page, so like we just have to be more consistent and more like on it when it comes to, you know, addressing these issues. And plus, we don't want the babies in our community to feel unsafe. Like, why are we allowing this stuff to perpetuate in a sense where it's creating not only a fear that our kids are growing up in, but then you also have those who feel like, well, this must be how it's supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do, you know? So we're enabling to a certain extent as well. So yeah, all this is it's an attack on us on several fronts. So like, as a mother, I'm not just scared of the police that stopped my son and might be trigger happy because he sees an educated Black man sitting up in the seat. I'm also fearful, and I mean, I am stressed the fuck out. Okay, when it comes to my kids, I live in a Black neighborhood in the city of Chicago. Okay, and every day my sons go out this door, if they do go out the door, because sometimes I'm like, you don't have to go, just to stay home today. You don't have to go to work.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to get on the bus. I'll take you. You know, like, and they should be able to do that, because guess what I'm scared of too? I'm scared of somebody who just mad and a Black person, because we know that's how it is, that got their gun and they pissed off at somebody, they might be shooting and my son gets shot. I'm afraid of that. That's my reality every day, you know. So it's crazy, but I mean, you know, I stand in this gap. I do, you know, I advocate and fight, you know, but it's we got to stop this. We have to take accountability on both ends.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, start telling on these people. Start telling on them. Like Jason, you said, like, talk to your cousins and stuff. Sometimes, you know, talking ain't gonna do it, and they still gonna go out and be on bullshit. And so you got to start telling on their ass. I was watching some throwback documentary about Chicago and its crime and stuff, and there was this mother that lost her daughter, similar to Natasha, one of the situations that you were talking about. And the friends in the car who were also with them knew who shot her daughter, and they didn't want to tell. You know, because that stop snitching piece. And it's like, y'all lost a friend, she lost a daughter. And because y'all are fearful or whatever reasons y'all here for not telling, y'all didn't tell, and these people are still running free. Like, that's crazy. So you got to tell on your people too. Like, this stop snitching culture should need to.
You know, the crazy thing is like, this is what I'm thinking about. Like, you know, there is the stop the snitching culture that is a real thing. But I'm also thinking about the fact that the police don't really solve our murders.
No.
And that's another issue, you know, like, and it's like, well, if we call the police, hell, we might get our asses shot. Like, it's just such a damn complex situation, you know, and that's the reason why I believe, like, we need to have Black people, you know, fucking policing our own damn communities. So we can feel, you know, like we can call the police and say, hey, there's a murder. Yeah, I know this. I saw this and saw that. Are you going to protect me?
Right.
You know? Or am I going to get my ass shot by accident?
Right.
You know, like, there's just so much there, y'all.
Yeah.
And I want to say here in Chicago, I want to say the clearance rate for crimes and murders and stuff was like 25%. It was lower than that. So that means like almost 80% of those crimes were gone unsolved.
Yeah.
So you have to question, yes, there's people who don't snitch because they are a part of that gang culture. And within that culture, it says don't snitch because what they want to do is retaliate, you know what I mean, on their own terms or whatever the case may be. But there's also the question is like, well, what is the police department doing? You know, are you enabling this type of behavior? Are you trying to make our community just be in utter chaos? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what we do know is what that does is it creates a whole bunch of layers of issues for us mentally, physically. We want to get up and move, you know, like it does an array of things to us, you know. So like, yeah, you wonder, what are they really doing? Like, are you a part of the problem or are you a part of the solution?
Right.
No, they part of the problem, but
yeah.
All right, y'all, let's get into today's conversation, because what made me really want to talk about this is last week I was driving, coming from somewhere, and then I was listening to the radio and they were calling. So WGCI has this Goofy of the Week award or Goofy of the Day award, and they gave this award to Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Cullors, right? And so I get back home and I pull this article up, and girl, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, socialist, all this thing, Black Power chick, she done went and bought several properties, multi-million-dollar properties in predominantly white wealthy communities, right? And that shit pissed me off. Because for, I mean, y'all
Start
watch
back over again.
what
She
you say?
bought this
Bought
the last part.
multi-million-dollar, like, she got property in Atlanta. One of her property in Atlanta has an airplane hangar.
An airplane hangar. Are you serious?
Hangar, yes. And I think she bought some other property in LA in a predominantly white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Jason's face like, Jason, tell me what was on your mind, bro.
yes, bro.
This is an activist?
Yes, co-founder of Black Lives Matter National, Patrice Colors. Yes.
This is a prank,
No, we
right?
don't get anywhere.
No, it's not.
He said it was an activist, Jason. Now what you got?
Y'all, my mind is on maybe it's the activists that people have been talking about, you know, who aren't like doing the right thing by our own people. Not like this is what she really did, y'all, for real.
You know what? But let me just pause for just 1 second, y'all. So people, and I'm not trying to excuse her at all, because I don't know all of the details about her situation. But, you know, I used to be a full-time teacher. I don't have any children at all, right? So I'm not paying for basketball. I'm not paying for camps. I'm not paying for gymnastics or trips or just extra childcare stuff, right? So I have my extra money. And so, you know, when you're a full-time teacher, you be stressed the hell out, like dealing with them kids all day. Like, I love my babies, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I need some self-care from when I leave the building until I get home. And if that means that I'm riding in a Mercedes Benz and I'm comfortable in rush hour traffic, you know, then that's a part of my self-care. And so, you know, I had a whole bunch of people jump down my neck when I bought my Benz, you know, 6 years ago. They were tripping, y'all. And I was like, but I don't have any kids. Do you guys understand that my money is not just flying out? Like, you know, like I tried to make it make sense to them, but it didn't. So, you know, that's just kind of where I'm at on that. Now, I don't, you know, see that she needs to have multiple properties. I don't know if she has a book deal where she was able to purchase some of this other stuff. I really don't know. It's kind of the same situation when it comes to pastors of churches.
Yeah.
I just in with that.
I mean, but here's the thing though, right? Here's the thing, because as Zakiya and I were having this conversation too, and no one's saying that as an activist or as an educator or whoever, anybody in a public service space needs to live impoverished, right? But this organization particularly has been called out several times by people whose pain that they've used to elevate themselves as an organization that has not given back to these families. And so you have these families that have lost, you know, children to police violence, all kind of stuff, been murdered by police, and they couldn't pay for their funerals. Right now they're homeless. We're very well aware of how Samaria Rice called Tamika Mallory out, you know, and she called Black Lives Matter out too. Stop using our loved ones for your campaign to line your pockets. And so it's the thin line. I don't even know if the line is thin necessarily, but again, you don't have to live impoverished. But when you sitting up here like, baby, you keeping up with
airplane hangar though, come on.
That's a lie. But then the other layer is the other next, I think, step is the fact that they received multi-millions of dollars from corporations that were like, hey, we're giving this money because you guys are fighting for Black lives. And you're like, where's the accounting for that money? What are you doing with that money? You know, now we see you're buying, you know, mansions and stuff, you know, so like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, and it's not beneficial to our community. Like, what are you doing to really enact change and create
other grassroots organizations too? Like, that was the intention, right? That you were going to funnel the funds down to the other Black Lives Matter chapters. And so I see that there are Black Lives Matter chapters across the country that are struggling.
Yes.
So, and it's like, well, why are they struggling if, you know, somebody has...
And they're the ones on the ground doing the work. Like, they're the ones that are doing most of the organizing.
Like, don't we need bail money, especially during this trial, honey? If folks can't get out of jail.
But here's the question, y'all, because, you know, when we think about, you know, again, you created this umbrella organization. You have these separate Black Lives Matter organizations around the country that are struggling. And honestly, to me, it reminds me of a gang without leadership, right? And how things are, you know, the members they just run and do their own damn thing. Because we do have some Black Lives Matter organizations, you know, doing the damn thing, and we got others that's out here fraud as hell. The one in Chicago is fraud as hell. I'm gonna be real with it. And so the question is that my concern, honestly, as an activist and frustration, these people are making it hard for us to do the work. And it ultimately discredits the work and it discredits the movement. So what chime in on about that, y'all, because it's problematic. And how do we call these people out and maybe even oust them? Because they fucking with our work.
Yes, and look, and don't be afraid. Like, we should be paid for our activist work. Like, we work. You know, I don't get sleep. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I work 24 hours a day. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying that be responsible. Be responsible to the work that you're doing in the communities that you're helping. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't just be you're profiting off of this. And I see Jason's face. He must be reading up on this. Because he's like, this is crazy.
I'm stuck because it's so much. Like, in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're a co-founder, but baby, you are intelligent. Where is your board? And you mean to tell me that a board of people that are connected to a nonprofit or a for-profit allowed this, and then white people who gave money? So in my mind, it's almost like, God, why did you create us? Like, why? What enjoyment did you get in watching this? Because this is something that has happened throughout time, and they did articles on these sisters, and this is what pisses people off with Keisha Lance Bottoms and the Black Democrats and the Black conservatives, because y'all have money. Why are we sitting up here begging every fucking day for money for our kids? Because I'm sick of this. Then they'll say, oh, well, if you run for school board, you got to sit up here and be pretty and do this and sit. I'm sick of that shit. I'm sick of appeasing Black people who know better. And they allowed this to happen. And then people out here sacrificing their lives and going to jail and can't even get out of jail to get to their kids. And y'all know this. To sit up here and go live with white people that don't even like you, that don't even stand for what you're doing. And we sitting up here and I got threats in my box trying to educate kids. And y'all got millions of dollars, and I'm sitting up here getting my master's, not working full time, working 3 or 4 goddamn jobs and helping lead kids to make change. And these niggas sitting up here, I can go down Facebook and all these goddamn Black Christians on my Facebook page and got so much to say about who's sleeping with somebody, but y'all not even voting. Y'all kids don't even go to Black schools. Your grandmama was a goddamn cafeteria manager, and you ain't even supporting this. I'm fucking sick of this shit. And anybody hearing this, if you offended, I don't give a fuck, because I'm doing the work. And I know when I lay down, this is why I say I want people to rest in peace, in power, and in love, because this world is crazy. I'm sitting up here crying over my husband's friend who just lost her life, but she struggled. She suffered. She suffered. We are suffering. Yeah. That's why I told my family, baby, don't cry for me. Dude, I'm telling, don't cry for me. When God and the ancestors decide to call me, don't cry for me, please, because this is crazy. Like, they sit up here in these books and tell us what's gonna happen. It's in the media. It's in everything that we watch and see and we do, and our kids are seeing it. Who is gonna get freedom? My kids? My great grandkids? Like, who? Like, I just feel like enough time is gonna go by and it'll be 1,000 years and I'll be sitting in some place and be like, wait a minute, why is this so familiar? Was I here before? Like, it's just crazy to me. I could not fathom that in my mind, that she has properties. Like, properties? I know people in Black Lives Matter organizations that are still in jail.
Living with somebody, sleeping on the couch somewhere.
I'm sorry, y'all. That just, because I can't believe that. Like, I don't want to believe that that's true. And then I'm sitting up here like, oh, wow, it is really true. Like, and I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't even know it. And I see why people look at me like, you an activist?
And we're like, our community, what we have, like, zero wealth. Like, we're like in this economic decline. We got poverty everywhere. You know, we got schools are underfunded, just like you said. I mean, like, that money could go toward a lot of stuff to help empower our communities. And that's what's frustrating.
The Black kids getting shot. Their parents can't even bury them. And Black Lives Matter has millions of dollars. Y'all, what? I just
t-shirts and shit with they pictures on there.
I don't even know if I can do this. This is like, I don't get it, y'all. Like, oh my God.
You know,
like, and we sitting up here, I don't even have money trying to help bury people's kids that are getting killed and helping get activists out of jail. And then
Can I
Okay.
can I just say something? Okay,
Come on
so
in, Neo.
right now I am reading 400 Souls. I don't know if y'all seen it, but this book is really informative. And so one of the essays that they had in this book was about this this Anglo Angola African American, wasn't even American at the time, right? Because America wasn't until 1776. But in the 1700s, this Angolan came to America where he was forcefully brought, supposedly as an indentured servant. And he ended up getting his freedom. He acquired land. He ended up having a white indentured servant from England, but he also had a black. Well, there's questions whether the person that he had was his slave, his enslaved person, or an indentured black servant, right? And so the indentured black servant, went to the court. He petitioned to get his freedom. And long story short, he ended up becoming the first black person that was a slave for life, which is insane. But the person who owned him was black. And it's like, he ended up becoming a victim of the system because everyone around him that was white owned enslaved African people. And so the African, who was able to come up in this early American society, ended up enslaving this black person too. And I just found it so interesting, like how even today that same scenario is playing out with black elites in this country, them selling out, them, building their comfortability on, black pain, just like, so many whites have done.
Yeah, it's when you think about pain pimps, the unfortunate part is that somehow activism has become an industry. When it used to be a public service and it used to be really a grassroots effort, it's somehow become an industry with like social media and the provocation of just media period. And the sad part is that people have found a way to make money, specifically people that look like us, to make money off of our pain. Like that's super unfortunate. And again, I just want to have a conversation about how difficult that makes our work. But not only that, how do we call these people out? How do we stop them? How do we, somehow filter the money that they're making into our communities? Because she's not the only person that sold us out. I feel that way about, again, you have this, you set this organization, Black Lives Matter, and it's like, what is this organization nationally, or what are the local chapters pouring back into the communities? But what other groups are out there? Because and also talking to Zakia, I was like, man, Samaria Rice wasn't wrong for calling these these media activists out. When you out there, in front of the cameras, and you talking about, well, such and such life mattered, and this person's life mattered, and it's elevating you, but these families are still in the trenches fighting this pain, fighting this trauma, fighting legal battles, paying legal fees, all this stuff, and they've been left in the dust until the next person, the next victim comes along that you can pimp. Who's saying you can pimp? So who else is out there doing it? Because this is not only a conversation about strategy and how we get them out, but this is also a conversation about calling these people out, because we need to disable their platforms and disable their audiences, because we can't have
platforms are everywhere.
False prophets. We can't.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Their platforms are everywhere. I had last week, I was dealing with a parent, her and her husband, struggling because their son is dealing with social emotional trauma. And like my parents and like other parents that I know throughout Black communities, the first place they go, because what grandmama say, pray. The first place they go is the church. And what is the motherfucking church doing? Raping, molesting, and taking advantage of our children. Then they got to come to school messed up. Then they get pushed into the prison pipeline, and they either end up in jails or prisons, or they in somebody's mental institution. So it's platforms everywhere. Look at everybody. Look at your own network. I got family members. They ain't never tuned in to a show. They ain't never showed up for nothing. But they can open their mouth to be judgmental against someone because, oh, you're Christian, and now you have the perfect family because you're Black. Foolish. As educated as these people are, dumb as fuck. And that's how sick of it I am. I think about Daniel Blackman in Georgia and how the Democrats, He was the one who was organizing. I ain't got nothing against Warnock or Ossoff, but the reality is, were they the best choices? No, they were the only choice. That's why people went with them. So let's be real about that. Georgia and Atlanta, the people that we should have had in those seats, we didn't want to support Black women, though. We didn't want to support Representative Valencia Stovall, who has a proven record, who has been in the Capitol for over a decade, doing what? Advocating for grandparents, advocating for women's rights and health, advocating for our children. She got things on the books, but we ain't support her. But all these other people that you see on the news and in the media, and I'm so pissed off because I'm pissed off at myself for being fooled by the establishment that these Blacks who are in these, positions of power are really looking out for us. They not, because how many of them live in the hood? Look at the cars that they driving. Like, I'm going down my list now, like, oh yeah, look at how you living.
Right.
Look at what you doing. Y'all ain't out here really struggling like me. So yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
So
we fighting against the people that saying they on our team, and we fighting against the enemy. I'm tired of fighting.
Let's pause to highlight 3 points. The first point is that, first of all, I don't know if y'all, I mean, clearly Jason going for broke today. So go for broke, G. The second thing is that if you haven't done so already, like and share this broadcast out, because this is an important conversation. So share with your friends, your family, whoever you could share with, put in your social media pages. We'll appreciate it. The third thing is, Jason, you mentioned, damn, I forgot what you mentioned. That's old age. But you mentioned something about, damn, I forgot. Y'all carry on the conversation.
I went through the list. I went through the church. I went through the activists. I went through the schools. Where we want to go? Because everybody plays a role in it.
So here we go. So when you talk about Representative Stovall, when we talk about, again, elevating people, so because a lot of times we put people in office because we're trying to, Natasha, as you said, we're trying to get rid of somebody. We're not putting a good person in office necessarily because we believe in them. We just don't believe in the person that's been in that seat. And so we don't necessarily put the best leaders in office. But how important is a resume in activism? Because you can have somebody that has ambition, but they've never done anything, or you can have somebody with pages of a multi-page resume, and they still be fraud. So what should we look for as far as an effective and authentic activist?
Wow.
I mean, I would say, first of all, the main issue is that we do put a lot of stock into, quote unquote, a leader, and oftentimes, and that's just historic. I think we've been trained to believe that there's this one leader that's going to come and going to be the spokesperson for all of us. And we sometimes fall back and allow that to happen. And so the media also takes on that spin, whether it's the church leader, it's the activist leader. But oftentimes I would even challenge that. I mean, they probably don't even have a good resume, to be honest. I mean, if you really, really peel back the layers and look at it. But I think the issue is their actions. Like, not even just their actions. What are we seeing in our communities? Are there any changes happening based on any of the activism that you see? This hashtag Black Lives Matter has been around, I want to say, since 2016 or a little earlier when it started happening. But look at our communities from then and now. We can compare what has actually happened by what we see every day when we walk outside of our homes or, in our community. So we know if these activists are effective or not. And I think that's part of it, is that we have to be honest that at the end of the day, one activist really is not who we should be putting our stock in. We got to start putting stock in what we know as individuals who live and thrive in our communities. We have to be the activists. We have to be the ones holding ourselves and other people who claim to be that accountable. And then coming to the table. Like, let's not even just coming to the table, creating our own table and making our elected officials come to us. So we know we're living in violent communities that have like shootings every damn day. Babies getting shot in a McDonald's waiting for a Happy Meal.
Right.
We shouldn't have to wait for an activist to come up and say something about it. In fact, we should have known that before, because all of this stuff that's happening has happened. It's a cycle, and I know, Jason, you talked a little bit about it. It's a cycle. It keeps happening over and over and over again, because we're waiting for one person. We are that, we have to be the ones to create that table and say, no, elected officials, we're sick of this. This is what we want to see, period. These are the things we want. This is what we want you to do. We pay you, you work for us. And if you don't do it, yes, we will put you out of office, but at least hold them accountable. And I think sometimes in our community we fail to really hold people accountable to measurable outcomes. We don't hold them accountable.
You know,
I really like what Tanya said. She said, put your stock in a leader who will not be compromised in their belief. And that is really, really important. So here's another example of a situation of my own experience, because that's all I can speak from is my experience. There was a time where with the Black Wall Street Times, some of the, there were some community members that had some concerns with some of the people that I was working with. And me, I was just trying to expand my reach, right? When it came down to getting grants and all of that. And so, we were able to, secure some grants and be able to like pull some more, activists, journalistic activists onto the Black Wall Street Times. And in that time, like, some people I didn't talk to in my community for a whole year. And I think that they backed up because they wanted to see like how I moved, right? They wanted to see like, okay, is this brother gonna sell out? Is he gonna still move the same way? And so parallel to everything that they were doing, we were doing the same thing. The message was still the same. And then, once Trump showed up, we all got back together and we was like one fist, a very strong force when he came to Tulsa. And so I think that is probably spot on. Like those are the types of people that we got to find, people that are intelligent, that are smart, that know how to organize, that are connected, but will not compromise at the end of the day.
And the people that actually do the work in the fucking communities. Like what you're not going to do is you're not going to call yourself an organizer, but you scared to step foot in my hood. That's what's not going to happen. Right. So if you aren't engaged in the community and with the people in the community, asking them for solutions and trying to bridge that gap between whoever you're working for or with and the community itself, you're not doing that work to me. You're not doing that work to me. So that's something to look at too, is like anybody that calls themselves an advocate or an ally for your community or your people, but the engagement is limited. Nah, G, you probably ain't about this life. But one of the things too that I want to ask real quick is Neo made a point about funding, right? When you associate maybe with different funders or different groups, and how as an activist you could be ousted for that, because I know that working on the air reform side, sometimes we have those conversations and we constantly get attacked online like, well, look who funds your organization and y'all know what their agenda is. And my comeback is like, I use my money like, yeah, I got to live at the end of the day, but I'm still doing work in the community. Here's my receipts. Now, the day that you willing to pay my goddamn bills is the day that I'll walk away from this. And then I'll work from you since you work for you, since you so legit, and we can do this together. But until you're not willing to do that, then I'm gonna keep working for this organization and putting that money into my community and into my so I can live. Right. And so how do y'all feel like, how do we have those conversations when they're trying to say, because you can have money that comes from all of these, maybe let's just say Black foundations or whatever, and still be like, Sis Patrice, and be, not putting that money into the community, just helping yourself. So what does it matter? Does it matter where the money comes from?
And that, I don't think I think it does. And it depends, right? It depends on what it is. And so like with my situation, like, I think all of the funders, they know how unapologetic I am. And anybody that ever tried to accuse or make accusations about my level of autonomy, like I let them know immediately, like, don't nobody control shit over here at the Black Wall Street Times but Nehemiah Frank.
I know that's right.
I have, a community advisory board. That community advisory board has people from the community who will check my ass in a heartbeat if I step out of pocket. And because and because my convictions are just so deeply rooted, I feel like there's very little, room for me to be compromised. And I think that's what there has to be a level of oversight from other community members. If you can build it like that, where you have a community advisory board, looking at these activists and, they're spending, I'm talking about people from the community, because Jason had mentioned like, who the hell is on their board? How the hell is she spending money like this?
Right.
Like, what is her salary? First of all, if she's able to afford an airplane hangar, that's pretty extreme. She's got to be making, a lot of money.
And
And so like I said, those community advisory board members, they will be quick to check me, and some of them know my own family members. So I'm not about to have my whole world fucked up because I wanted a few extra Gucci bags or some shit like that. Like.
So I think funding. I'm sorry. I think funding.
No, go ahead.
I think it does matter, but it matters when it is used to create a message, right? So like one thing is that sometimes you're funded for a specific campaign, right? And so you're doing this campaign and that's fine. But if you're lying, if you're getting funded and you're misleading people,
right,
because you're actually working for a specific campaign that you're not explaining, and this is what happens. A lot in our community, and a lot with these activists, and a lot of these organizations who use us and our issues and our pain for their other campaign that they're working on. And I think what you have to do is you got to peel back those layers. It's not just about who's funding. It is who's funding you, but it's how are you moving in the community, and then what impact are you actually having. So I'm gonna give you an example. Like here in Chicago, we have a lot of campaigns. We have a lot of campaigns going on, right? There's one with the Chicago Teachers Union. Oftentimes you hear them talk about, we're speaking for Black and brown communities. Black kids are struggling in the system. And they always say this. And what ultimately happens is they have their own campaign. They have something else going on that they're not completely explaining to the community. So you use this to get people. So this is an organizing strategy. It's a strategy to invoke people's emotion and say, you're right. Black parent, the CPS is horrible to all us Black parents. We need to join this campaign that CTU is having. But in the meantime, they're not addressing the academic gap. They're not even talking about solutions for any of that stuff. They're not talking about how there's kids literally sitting in schools where they're not learning how to read or write, read math or nothing. No. And oftentimes what this does is it hinders progress within our community. It stifles us, and we're being pulled in so many directions because we got so many issues, right? So everybody is capitalizing off of our pain by not producing any type of impact. And so for the people on the ground, we just have to say, well, we have to not only look at your funding, but look at the impact that you're creating as an individual. Yeah. And then possibly is what your organization is trying to accomplish, but there's a lot of organizations that might fund you and fund you, but you can be independent. You can have your voice. You can say what you want to say. You don't have to feel stifled. Right. But at the end of the day, we have to look at the impact. The impact is the most important thing because we've been struggling for too many years. Enough is enough. I'm sick of Black people getting killed by the police. I'm sick of Black people getting killed by Black people. I'm sick of us living in poverty. I'm sick of us being the highest rated this and the highest rated that. We got to stop it. And the only way we're going to stop it is if we get behind people that create real impact.
Right.
That's good. Ooh. And we all know this.
Get behind people that create real impact. That's it.
Tanisha, I wanted to go to your question about does it matter where the money comes from? And I absolutely think it does. Because I'm not selling my soul to anybody. And when I think about my students, I get so pissed off about this because on tomorrow, I'm going to have another conversation with young people who are like, now we are getting it. How are adults not getting this? And it goes back to we are in a fight. And Black people, I guess, get so tired of Blackness and get so tired of being worn down, they decide I want to assimilate and let me be quiet and let me be nice and let me suffer silently so I can be in the company of white people and be ignored, but not killed, overlooked, but not persecuted. So, people do sell out because of that. When I think about these activists across the nation who have the Black Lives Matter activist that was here in Atlanta, and you embezzled money and you were out buying Gucci and out buying this and out buying diamonds, and you won't even get it from Black, like you won't even putting the money back into Black communities. Like you didn't go and say, hey, let me pay the rent for these 3 grandmothers. Let me help out these families. Like you didn't even do nothing. I want to even throw Dr. Beverly Hall in the mix. She was the realest. She knew the cheating scandal was going to happen in Atlanta. She couldn't stop it. I can't stop what these white people want to do because it's a fight. They're trying to take the land, and the educated people from Morehouse and Spelman, they're not going to save APS because they let Morris Brown get sold out. So if you're alumni of Morehouse and Spelman, I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's the history of y'all schools that was funded and started by white people. So let me just go back to that. But Dr. Beverly Hall knew the cheating scandal was coming, and she made sure that those families had resources. She made sure that those kids were getting safe to the bus and safe to getting home. When you look at the rates of children being snatched in our community, that was reduced because she said, I'm going to do what I can do for my people because I know the storm that's getting ready to hit that's going to take them out if they don't have these resources. So I credit her for that because after her death, I got an opportunity to talk with her husband before he left this country. And in my mind, I'm like, at least we got to have Black people who can be in these places that are going to use the funds to give back to the people that are suffering. These activists, these organizers, these people that are pimping Black pain, they not even putting the money back into the Black community. They going to assimilate and be around the very people, and all of them, except for this sister, because I haven't heard her story. I've read the other cases though, which is why this is blowing my mind, because the rest of these, God, I almost called them what white people call us. The rest of them are sitting in jail. So you done did all this. You done sold out your people. You have let people rot in jail when you have resources to get them out. The list could go on. And you were like, I got my Gucci bag. I got my Prada. I got my, this or that. I got my house. And now you locked up. Because in these books, they tell us that they use y'all dummies. And then they come and burn down y'all shit. And y'all don't have nothing and no resources or assets. And then they say, well, we gave it to y'all. We gave y'all resources and look what your people did. And that's why I'm pissed off. Because we weren't smart enough to say, you know what? If I'm going to suffer, I'm at least going to suffer with my people and not stand on the other side and watch my mama and my aunties and my grandmas and Black children and Black men and Black women be accosted and killed. And I had the power and the resource to make change.
Ooh. But let's dive into how these because I think we can all, we've dropped a couple of names here and we can all drop a few more. Now the purpose of this conversation not to necessarily be messy, but again, and we go put you on blast, but how do these people delegitimize the authentic Black Lives Matter movement, the movement that people like us and other activists around the country are actually trying to build and fight for and keep together? How do they destroy it, especially at this level of, I guess, this celebrity level or celebrity status that some of them have achieved? How can they dismantle it just like that? Or how have they?
That's a good question.
I'm going to the book.
Does an authentic movement for Black lives exist? Or is it just what they portray to the media? Like this is like a layered question. Because there's a Black Lives Matter movement as far as what the media is concerned and as far as what these people have put out there. And then there's what we're doing at the ground. Is there something that exists in between? Do they intertwine? Like what is it? Like, where are we? And how are they detrimental to what we built, what we have, what we're doing? I'm asking all these questions, y'all. This stuff coming to mind. I'm just like,
no, since you there, and I'm gonna tell you what white people say. Now, this was written by a white person. Let me just say that. Racism is systemic, it's societal, it's institutional. This is what took me out. It's omnipresent. It's God, basically. And it's embedded. It's a phenomenon that pervades every vestige of our reality. This is our reality. Our reality is that we're living in a hell that was created for us. And then we get, let me give you this. Let me give you the Bible, because someone mentioned in the comments earlier, we're looking for a Malcolm and a Martin. No, Black people in America are looking for Christ. They're looking for a white Jesus that has been given to them that we're going to save you. So Tanisha, to your point, that's why a lot of Black people still believe in that. And I ain't coming against Jesus, because I believe that the origin of Jesus came from Africa, like so many other things that originated from Africa, and they've changed the narrative. We are believing in a white God that we keep going back to, and we see it every day. Look at the lady in Black Lives Matter. Let me bow down to my Black God and get all this money. Let me bow down. Then look at her top lieutenants, her generals. Let me bow down. Like, we have to be honest about this. This is how they killed the civil rights movement. Jesse Jackson. We don't want to admit it. We don't want to say it. Hosea Williams, Ralph David Abernathy. They were the top generals, lieutenants of Dr. King. Look up what happened in history. They went and they backed what presidents after King died that set us back years because they bought them. So I'm just saying, I love Hosea.
Dr. King was
I love Abernathy. I still celebrate what they did, the majority of the movement, but I realized that white people know that they can buy out black people just like that because we're going to uncover your skeletons and we're going to expose you and we're going to make the church turn against you and we're going to take away your prestige with Jack and Jill. And why are we living up to what they want us to be? And why are we not living up to our full potential? And that is why I'm so pissed off in this conversation that, damn, we in battle and I got by my own people that know better. They know better. But okay.
So what's our full potential, Jason?
We have the potential to dwell in freedom. You know, I let me say this. My father in love, because I don't say in law, you know, said to me this weekend as he celebrated his 80th birthday, he was so shocked because he said, I'm so shocked that you're this free. And I was like, baby, I've been free. Like when my family members were in the church, I was growing up, I was reading the Quran. I was like, wait a minute. I have classmates who are white, who are Jewish, who are Muslim, who are mixed. And you mean to tell me that a black preacher is sitting in front of me telling me that they're going to go to hell because they don't believe the way I believe? And we talk about God as being omnipresent. That's what kills me with black people. Why do we take on the things of our oppressor and we know better? We're not living in our full potential. We should not be in any type of space that is going to deplete blackness. Like, why would you even want to live in a space where you're not even recognized or identified as a human being? Because who the fuck else is doing that? Hispanics ain't even doing it. They're not doing it any longer. The Asians aren't doing it. People who are mixed race are not doing it. Black people are still doing it. And we know we have to uncondition ourselves from white people. They in these books that are, their books are selling out about race and what black people need to do more than black people who have been in the struggle and have the strategies. Because we're buying what they say. We buy what they say. We want to say we free, but we run right back to them. We ain't supporting each other. We're not being real about this. They shouldn't be able to infiltrate us the way that they have if we are truly supporting and living up to what we saying. Y'all, this is almost like they attacking us. We putting out what's up, Kim?
Yeah, they are attacking us.
Like they attacking us, and then we sitting here on the front lines. Like, and I'm so glad Kim is on. Like, I'm looking at Kim's face. Like, I have to explain to my students, Park Cannon was arrested. And even in the video where you can see her face, she's like in shock. Like, y'all know me. Like, wait a minute. What, that for real? Like, it almost was like for real. Like, you could see it in her face. And my students, the way that they handled her, I had to talk my students down. Mr. Allen, they're putting their hands on her like this, and you can see how she's like, oh my God, you're hurting me, and trying to get away. And we can't do shit but film it and cry.
Equal branch of government. Like, that's ridiculous.
Let's get since Kim was able, we got Kimberly Jones on the show, renowned activist, you know, just dope ass black woman. She was able to join us. Kim, give us a couple of minutes on give us a couple of minutes on your perspective of like these, you know, pain pimping and poverty pimping activists out here. Like, what you think? Who are they? We putting them on blast too if need be. What you think about them? Like, how are they destroying the authentic movement for Black lives?
Well, I think one of the ways in which it's really hurting the community is that it does require funding for this infrastructure. And so, like me, for example, I am now skittish about asking for money that I legitimately need money for, because I'm like, I don't want to give the people the impression that I'm trying to steal money from them. I'm, you know, that they're going to look up and the money that they're investing in me is going to be invested in my own private, personal.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways also, you know, people hurt the community is lack of transparency with in pursuit of being activist number one. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm always very upfront and transparent about the fact that my bread and butter, how I make a living, is as a writer. And so therefore, I don't really need to steal anybody's money. You know what I'm saying?
They don't need it.
I don't need it. I earn a really good living as a writer. I'm an internationally selling, best-selling author. I write for Warner Brothers, for TV and different spaces like that. So I'm not wealthy, but I'm not broke either. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when I'm trying to raise money, for example, like last summer we were trying to raise money for TPU, for buses, for our Good Trouble ride. Like, it's hard for me to put that on my page and be like, can y'all donate to the buses? Because I know the community is skittish about.
Come on now.
Yeah, skittish about giving money to activists now. And so it's like, damn, we really need this money to get the buses going. Like, this is legitimately not going in none of us at TPU get paid for running TPU. You know what I mean? Like, none of us collect a salary from that. None of us collect bonuses from that. Same thing with, I also run Revolutionary Healing. Revolutionary Healing costs all of us money every month. You know what I mean? Even when we charge for tickets, that's the minimal basis cost. Me, Natasha, Hashar, all of us, we're still paying for the venues. We're still paying for the food. We're still paying for all these things. You know what I mean? And so, it's multi-layered, and there's lots of reasons why it's hurting us. But that's one of the ways it's hurting us. It's actually hurting legitimate fundraising.
Yeah.
Organizations that, like I said, for the Good Trouble ride, every nickel of that money that we raised went to those buses, went to snacks for people riding the buses, went for the security that went with us. And we all had to like ante up and pony up a little money to finish it off. We didn't make, it's always costing us money. TPU is always costing me money, well, not me, but other people in the organization. Revolutionary Healing is definitely always, costing me money. And part of that is because, how do you ask the people for money? One, in the middle of a pandemic when we know people are struggling. So that's number one. And two, when now there is this cloud over fundraising for Black organizations. And then the other thing is, truthfully, honestly, the other biggest issue is it makes it difficult for us all to come together. Because I can get what it is that you're doing, but if you have allowed yourself to be put in a position where your public persona has been damaged, as much as I may know some of your truth and know that some of it is not true, if you've allowed any of it to be true and any of it to be provable, or been put yourself in a position where people can roll out receipts on you, now I can't align, for the sake of my organizations, I can't align myself with you.
Right.
And that's the biggest issue, because truthfully, this fight is so big and it's so multi-layered and multi-tiers. It actually really does require us coming together nationally, and it's more impactful if we come together. It's more impactful if we come together nationally. A lot of people were calling us when we were doing that boycott. Well, not even a boycott. When we did the boycott in front of businesses, and when we stood out in front of the Capitol, trying to fight HB 531, we got a lot of people emailing, texting, messaging us saying, I'm in Maryland, I'm in Detroit, I'm in all of these places. How can I help? How can I help? And I'm like, how can you help? But how you can help is monitor the bills that are in your state, because this was a coordinated act. This was well over 200 bills across 48 states of voter suppression bills that look the same, that GOP state legislators coordinated that and placed those bills, because they all were on this, okay, we're going to ride on the voter fraud narrative. And so we're going to put these bills in place pretty much damn near in every state. So I'm saying, while you're asking us what we can do here in Georgia, we got this in Georgia. We're fighting it in Georgia. You're hearing about it in Georgia because that's what we do here. We fight. You know what I mean? But it's happening in almost every state. That was a coordinated act by the GOP state legislators. And that's the level of strategy. Sometimes you got to give props to your enemy when they show you
really do.
Be doing. Right. And it's like, that's something we need to be doing. We need to be organizing our state legislators across the nation to come up with some bills and push together some lobbyists to get some things on the table that are meaningful and purposeful for us. We may not be able to get it at the federal level, but we could definitely organize nationally. And that's going to mean us talking to other activists on the ground who can connect us to their state legislators. That's going to mean us showing up in each other's cities. I have a really good friend who's a Black Republican, and he legitimately loves and cares about his people. His narrative is very different than a lot of them on a lot of issues when it comes to us. And I watch how him and his other friends who are all Black Republicans, how they move. When one of them is running, they all show up for each other. So if one of them is running, like in Texas, every Black Republican that's running for office shows up for that person's rally in Texas. And then they do the same thing in Michigan. And then they do the same thing in Illinois. And it's like, it makes it difficult to have that level of strategy when you got all of these false preachers in the streets.
Come on.
So to close us out, let me ask all of you a question. And Kimberly, got us started in this conversation. How do we mobilize at the state level, at the local level, in our communities to not only build power at the grassroots level, but also counteract the damage and the messaging that's coming from these false ass, fraud ass activists? How do we bring these strategies together to make sure that we keep the movement genuine and actually impactful?
I'll jump out and say I think we need to reach the masses of people who we're not reaching. Like, my students, I listen to them because I just feel like maybe they know the answer. Like, they really see this. And as kids who are not even 13 years old, they're asking these same questions and they're watching us. And so one of the things that I would definitely say is we have to reach the kids that in the streets. We got to reach the families that are suffering. Like, that's one of the things that I would definitely attribute the TPU. Like, I'm thinking about Monteria Robinson, who is like, this is how I survived trying to get justice for my child. And she's on it. Like, she has her receipts. She has coalitions that she's built. My students were so impressed with her because they were like, for her to have lost a child, she has created a movement and also a business that has to be managed. And she's funding it on her own. So it's offensive when we do the organizing, right? And then we have our colleagues who are Black, because I can't even address whiteness right now.
No.
Our Black colleagues turn their backs on us or turn a blind eye, or they will pony up and say, we know that the oppressors are funding us and they have us working against you. But if we come together and do this, we can. And we saw this in Georgia recently with the election of the DA. And my students still to this day are like, Mr. Allen, don't tell us to go back out and vote, because we went out and voted and she said we were going to get justice for Rayshard Brooks and the other 17 families that are on the book still waiting for justice that were in the streets with Kim and Park and Greg and Antonio and so many others saying, we want justice. We going to vote for the first time. I got a felony. I'm going to do it. My kids who had brothers that had been in the system and were out, they got their brothers out to vote for the first time for a DA that was like, okay, yeah, I heard y'all, but I ain't really seeing y'all because I don't have the time now, because I still got debts that I have to pay. So we got to be true to it. We got to really stick to it, and we got to reach again the people that are in the trenches, because we need them. We can't say we speaking for them and they not at the table with us. So that's why I brought my students to the table. We got to bring felons to the table. We got to bring those kids in the school to prison pipeline to the table. Battered mothers need to be at the table. Women who don't get health care because they Black need to be at the table. Like, we got to get them, because apparently we know who our enemies are and who's not going to work with us.
Neo, what you got?
I mean, I'll make it quick. He didn't say everything. They didn't say everything. Bring Kim on and she gonna wrap it up for us. I mean, we just gotta blast that ass. Whenever they do wrong, we need to put them out and let everybody know, what's inside the closet. Because that's the only way Black people are going to be able to move strategically. It's by exposing these people, Black folks who really aren't for us. Like, they're a part of the problem. And so, that's what we do at the Black Wall Street Times. That's, what TPU does. And so what we need to keep doing.
So I think it's going to take just a multifaceted, process, right? We're going to have to be able to definitely raise awareness, I say, to those who are eating off our pain. But then also we have to start focusing on working with those Black folks and groups that are actually on the ground creating that impact. let's focus on building with them the coalition that we need, or the collaboration, to be able to work across this country to create those bills that Kimberly is talking about, or at least to push our legislators to create bills that are specific to our community. And one of the ways that I've started doing that here is I'm a co-founder of an organization called the Black Community Collaborative. And our goal is to dismantle the system of racism and actually fight for real Black equity, because we hear about this, we see other people who are really creating it, who are talking about it for us, and the real people aren't at the table. And we have actually created a table, and we bring our legislators to it, and we say what we want to see happen in our communities, but we also work collectively for other Black facing groups, people who are founded by doing work in the community, and working with them to, just come together on issues that impact us the most. So I think part of it, again, is really focusing on who is doing the building right now and who's creating that collective impact, and partnering with them. And then also looking at our organization and joining it, because we don't just see us as a Chicago-based organization. We see us as a organization that expands across the United States.
That's good.
Oh, that's Chicago. That's my hometown. Just to make sure me and her get each other's information.
Yep, let's do it.
Yeah, I live in Atlanta.
Family reunion.
Yeah, I live in. It's funny because I have now lived in Atlanta longer than I lived in Chicago.
Hey, Atlanta is my hometown. That's where my family is from. So Jason and Kimberly,
we just swapped.
Yeah.
My family from Atlanta. That's my second home. If you see back there, I got Chicago. I have Chicago and Atlanta at the top. So
yeah, it's funny because I'm from Chicago, but I've actually lived in Atlanta way longer than I lived in Chicago. I really don't know what my hometown is. But I'll say this, and this is going to be a shameless plug, but hey, I told you I'm transparent, I'm shameless. I'm really happy with the direction that we have gone with the People's Uprising. And we got thrown together in the midst of the civil unrest. And so we have some kinks to work out, just like any other baby organization. Keep in mind, TPU is not even a year old yet. We haven't reached 1 year mark yet. And so, but what I do appreciate is like the cross communication that we have in the organization. We have younger people, we have older people, we have activists, we have legislators, we have teachers, we have creatives, we have a mosh posh of people that thoroughly represent our people across the board, and it's multicultural. It's predominantly Black, but we do have other allies that are supportive in the organization. And I think that is a model that, honestly, like, my dream would be for us to recreate that model in every state, because now what we're talking about in terms of pushing legislation, in terms of actually reaching the people in the street, in terms of talking to young people, that is what TPU is. We have Young Atlanta Leaders, which is us engaging the young people. We have people on the committee who are, legislators who can write policy both at the city level and at the state level. We have activists who will get to the ground. We have an entertainment and culture committee that can utilize their large platforms to push out whatever graphics, information, conversation, and communication that we're having. And so we need models like that that are in every state, and then all of those models in all of the states need to be communicating with each other. Like, hey, this is a policy that we need to put out at the state level that we all need to be on board with, that we all during our next sessions need to be pushing. And because I'm telling you, the GOP organizes at that level. Like, everybody can be mad at the GOP for what they're doing, but you can't be mad at the fact that they're doing it and they're accomplishing it. Those bills passed. What they wanted to get done, they got done. Despite all of the fighting, despite all of the public shame. And then the other thing is, like, we also need to be able to, we also have to, like, not be scared. That's my big thing. We have to not be scared. Okay. And so this is something I've been carrying in my heart, and I'm going to say it first on here, and I haven't said it publicly anywhere else, because everybody's been telling me, no, Kim, no, don't say it. People won't understand, and people love him, and they're just going to be mad at you. I'm big mad at Will Smith for pulling that movie.
Oh, Lord.
I agree with you. Because who is it gonna hurt the most?
I'm big in that movie, and I'm gonna tell you why. As someone who works in the film and entertainment industry, let us be clear. Part of why Georgia turned blue was all of the film industry people that have moved here over the past 10 years. The people who moved from LA, the people who moved from New York, even the people from Georgia who you got white rural gaffers who lived out in the country of Georgia, who now moved in the city to work and now are engaging with a different culture of people. I literally talked to a white female teamster who used to be in the GOP and a Republican, but spending the amount of time she's been spending with people of color working in the entertainment industry over the past 10 years has changed her viewpoint. Because dead Black bodies in the street. She's seeing her friends that she works with every day. And if I could give y'all her page, if you go to her page, her rhetoric from 3 years ago to now has completely changed. Completely changed. And the thing about it is the GOP are the main people who don't like the entertainment industry being here, who don't like the film industry being here. They're the ones to say John Ossoff won because of his Hollywood friends. They ran full ads saying this shit.
They did.
They ran full ads saying this shit. So when you pulled your movie, which was performative at worst, naive at best, all you did was work the 200. All you did was hurt the 200 Georgians who booked that job. And Stacey Abrams literally came out and said, "Don't do that."
Right.
And did it.
And still did it.
So we don't listen to Black women.
We figured it out. Don't do that. Because at the end of the day, you're disenfranchising the very people who helped flip the state.
Right.
And you're work jobs. And for the record, what state are you going to move it to? Because these bills passed in 48 states. So it's performative because you're saying, I'm not supporting your state because of this bill. And 9 times out of 10, because these bills got passed in 48 states, you're moving it to another state that has the same bill, but it looks like you did something.
Can you make some time to write an op-ed for us about this shit so we can put this on blast everywhere? We already have one piece that we wrote about Stacey saying no. But coming from you, I think it would be really strong.
Yeah, because it's like, I can't wait to see what state you move this movie to. Because what I'm going to do is go pull the bills from that state and show you moved it to another state that got the same bills.
Come on now.
Is something.
You in the South. You in the South.
Right.
You look like you did something. It's performative. So when we're talking about these poverty and pimping activists, we also have to talk about these knee-jerk celebrities because here's what I've learned being an activist. If you get too many of these and attaboys for what you're doing, you couldn't possibly doing the right thing.
Yeah. You better come on now.
Well,
Ooh.
I mean, I think about all the Black and brown families that are going to be out of work. You know,
I thought about that too.
It impacts them. You know, these fathers are like, yes, I got this job. I'm about to be able to get my mom out of this nursing home. We're about to be able to do this. Like, that was hope that families needed to come out of dark places. And I was so taken aback by how many people in Georgia were like, yeah, you proving the point. Yeah, do this. And I was like, y'all, wait a minute. Why are we not? Right. Well, everybody in this movement is not connected to the people like that. Like, you know, Kim is one of the activists who is really like, the mothers are calling her. You know, the people are connected with her. Everybody doesn't have that connection. And when you aren't connected like that, you do make those knee-jerk decisions and reactions because you're thinking that, oh, I'm helping, but you've been bamboozled. You're really not. Because at the end of the day, we know that economic power is what's going to bring us out of this.
Yeah. Look, y'all, we gotta do that one for another day because we over time and, you know, we want to respect people's time, but as always, we appreciate y'all, you know, coming on and, you know, having this very important conversation. If anything you took from it, don't be afraid to call these people out loud. We have to, realistically, you might be blackballed or, you know, left standing alone or whatever, but at the end of the day, you stood in your truth and you stood in the truth that matters for the community. So don't be afraid to call these people out like dead ass. But be mindful, y'all. Use common sense too with these activists. And just real quick before we head out, I want to talk about Jamal Green, who's an activist here in Chicago. And y'all know Jamal, he's known nationwide for running against Lori Lightfoot. young black male who ran for mayor of the third largest city in the country at 23 years old.
Wait, is he banned from coming to something recently?
What'd you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
so people voted, and this is where the common sense part comes in, because you voted for this young man who at 23 years old had no experience in city governance, had no experience in managing budgets, both none of this stuff. And y'all voted for him. And so when you think about these leaders that you elevate, did he run for mayor for y'all, or did he run for mayor for himself? Because realistically, by some kind of fluke, if he would have been elected, he would have run Chicago straight into the fucking ground. And so when you look at these activists, look at who they're doing the work for. Is it for them or is it for us? And if the question is, or the answer is, it's for them. If you add all the shit up, it's for them. They are not the people that you're supposed to be following.
That's good.
And don't be afraid to call them out on their shit. So with that, y'all, we about to head out. I want to thank Kim for coming on, Natasha for coming on. As always, our brother, Jason, me, we go talk that real shit every week. Thank y'all so much again. And y'all just take some time. We coming down on this Chauvin decision, and we got Dante Wright, and we got babies being killed in the street every day. So y'all, not only pray and try to keep peace, but keep fighting. There's so many people that we got aggression, we got anger on social media, but we not doing anything as a community. And then we keep going through the same shit. We're not saying no more names. Let's not say any more names. Like, this killing black people starts now from the
break
police
that cycle.
Communities.
We need to break that cycle. A hashtag, a shirt. Now we need to live.
Yeah,
so we got to break these cycles.
Yes. So y'all get out today and do some work and make common sense decisions around the people that you choose to follow. That call themselves leaders. All right, y'all. But we'll check y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in to TDRS. Be good, stay safe, and do the good work. All right, y'all. We out.
All right. Peace.